exploding in the sunlight, like it was some sort of trip or mystical experience, like I was in paradise. So, I was in paradise, riding a donkey led by an 8-year-old beauty with shiny black eyes, a torn skirt and bare feet called Latifah. An Australian backpacker who was staying in my hotel had sent me there. He'd given the directions to the Palmery. "Worth a visit," he'd said, super cool. "If you want to get out of town, nice views." He hadn't mentioned it was on the Tripper route, and when I got there, bouncing the clapped-out Renault I'd hired for a week over the rocky track, there were 2 tour coaches from Agadir spewing out German housewives in shorts and vests. After a week on the beach, their skin was the same startling pink as the bougainvillea petals. I'd almost turned round and gone back. Not my scene. I'm a traveller, not a tourist. I don't do crowds. Then Latifah had come up, dragging the donkey behind her, hustling. "You like donkey ride, miss?" Some sixth sense telling her I was British. I looked at her over my shades. "How much?" She named a price in dirhams, the equivalent of £3, the first bargaining move. "OK." She was shocked. Even tourists knew they were supposed to haggle. "But I don't want to go where they're going." I nodded towards the Germans, who were being hoisted onto donkeys of their own, somewhere quiet. "No problem. They go to hotel, drink Coca-Cola, eat big meal, tagine, couscous, bread, eat, eat, eat." She puffed out her cheeks, not a credible imitation of a fat German, but I knew what she was getting at. She clapped her hand over her mouth, thinking her honesty would cost her business, thinking I'd be offended, that we were all members of the same tribe. "That's okay then." She still looked at me as if I were crazy for not trying to get a better price. I got out of the car. It would be like a sauna when I returned. The coaches had parked in the only shade. And she took me into paradise. She led me down the sandy paths, round the little fields, into that light and that colour. It was like swimming into a stained glass window, only there was sound too, everywhere birdsong and the humming of insects. I was as much a part of the jacaranda and the water trickling through the wooden pipes. More than that, it was as if the whole scene had been laid out for my enjoyment. For a moment, I lost myself in it. I heard Latifah's voice as if from a distance, chatting about a family and school, hoping maybe for a few extra dirhams tip for being friendly, because I'd already proved I was an easy touch. Driving back to the town, I made up my mind it was time to go home. I'd stopped being angry. And after a day, everything else would be an anticlimax. In Taradant, I returned my car to the garage and organised a ticket for a bus to Marrakesh. The next day, I began to make my way back. But slowly, because I'd need to get used to the idea. I'd lost the habit of making plans. Later, I walked through the streets which had already become familiar. My path took me past the bread shop, where the flat loaves were wrapped in a grey blanket, and the shop selling acacia twigs for firewood, past the souk, avoiding the skinny boys chasing goats and the young men with soft, dark eyes who wanted to practice their English or sell me a carpet or a silver Berber bracelet, to the poshest hotel in town, the one where the German tourists would stay if they had more class. I ate an expensive dinner on the terrace and drank most of a bottle of wine. Then I swam in the pool, which was built into the red stone of the city wall and surrounded by a garden. More jacaranda, more palms and vines. I swam until it was almost dark and I was the only person in the water. I walked back to the place I was staying, a not-so-posh hotel, which got its mention in the rough guide for being central and providing reasonable value for money. I walked slowly, knowing it was the last time. Outside the cafes, old men with stern faces drank coffee. Bats dipped in and out of holes in the wall. The muezzins were calling the faithful to prayer from the mosque on the square. The Australian backpacker was waiting for me, alone and hopeful, by the bar of our hotel. I bought him a beer, then went to bed. Without